Another album that I have in my core collection that was added sometime in the 2000s is Deodato's 2001. It's on CTI. It's a kind of a jazz funk album. Gatefold, really nice shape. This is an album you can typically pick up real cheap. I think I paid $5 for this at Bananas, and it went into the core collection pretty soon after that. The big star on this album is the song 2001. So they took what was a modern classical staple and kind of made it funky. So it's extremely well done. The basic core of 2001 is there, you know, the theme that everybody's so familiar with, but it's largely a platform for extended soloing, especially guitar. There's some great trumpet work as you get those soaring melody lines from the 2001 theme. It's a wonderful album. So the track order actually is a little bit different on the back of the record than it is on the album proper. So what's different is that the first 3 tracks are correct, but then on side 2, the second track is actually Prelude to Afternoon of a Faun, not September 13th. September 13th is the last track on side 2. So track by track, 2001, as I said, is the standout track here. Spirit of Summer is really good. Carly and Carol's, I'd say, a little bit more of a minor song. Baubles, Bangles, and Beads has some excellent fuzz guitar soloing by John Tropea. You definitely want to check that out. Prelude to Afternoon of a Faun, I think, would be the other standout track on here. It kind of drifts in, you get a little bit of keyboards and bass, then it goes into kind of a little bit of a Latin section in the middle that's really tight, and then it fades out. It sort of has a kaleidoscopic feel to it, so you really get to hear the different instruments come out to the front of the music. You hear the flutes, trumpets, bass, guitar, it's keyboard especially. It's really nice. And then September 13th is just sort of a basic funk groove with a lot of extended guitar soloing on it. But as a whole, this is just a great record to sit back and listen to. Definitely staying in the core collection. Deodato 2001. Also, I should mention the embossed figure on the cover is pretty cool. So it's really nice cover design from CTI. Moving on with the D's, we have Devo. The album title, Oh No, It's Devo, which came out around, I think, 1982. Bought this one at a record show in Atlanta, I think back in 96. A guy was selling off his collection, and he had several records for $2 and $3, I think maybe even a few for $1, and I think I picked this one up for $2. In great condition, as you can see. It's an original pressing. It's got the little cutout in the back. I don't know if this has ever been re-released, actually. It wasn't one of the more popular Devo records, but I still like it quite a bit. I just spun it, and yeah, it's supremely silly at times. But the songs really flow well together. It has some pretty driving beats, I guess, courtesy of Roy Thomas Baker's production. And songwriting really is not that bad. It's just that some of the songs can get kind of annoying, like Explosions and Speed Racer. Even so, you know, I don't skip past any of these tracks. I still listen to the whole thing. The first song is still really funny with the little rap at the beginning where he says, "Hello, this is Devo. We would like to say things go both ways," etc., etc. Not a terrible album. Pretty decent Devo album. Certainly not one of their best, but I do like it, and I like the cover design quite a bit. I think they did it's just meant to be a fun album. You know, I don't think it's meant to shake up the world or anything. So that's in my core collection too. It'll be staying in there. Oh No, It's Devo. Next up in my core collection is a 12-inch single by Devo. This one is the 12-inch for Peekaboo. It's called the Dance Velocity Mix. On the B-side, it has Peekaboo Devo Dub, and it has a B-side that's fantastic called Find Out. And it says here on the album, from Devo's forthcoming album on Warner Brothers, but it didn't make it onto that album, which was Shout. Instead, this is the only place you can find it, although I believe that for Record Store Day this year, there was a Devo B-Sides album that was released that does have Find Out on it. But it's a pretty obscure track, and it's one of my favorite Devo tracks, which is one of the reasons I hang on to this album, although it has pretty cool artwork too, as you can see. Anyway, it starts out with this kind of tribal drumming, and then it goes into a little organ line that forms the melody, and then there's the regular verse, chorus, verse. Has a pretty catchy chorus, and it lasts about 3 minutes, and then it just kind of ends suddenly. And I used it in a DJ set a couple of years ago. I think I sandwiched it in between some Pylon and some Bow Wow Wow or something, and it worked out really well. Anyway, so this is a good 12-inch single. I think I paid around $2 for it at that same record show where I picked up Oh No, It's Devo. So check it out. Moving from Devo to something far more obscure, the next album in my core collection is by a band called Dif Juz or Dif Juz or Dif Juz, however you pronounce it. I'm not really quite sure. They're an instrumental band from England in the early 1980s. They put out a few albums, but mostly EPs. And this is an album, but it's a rather short one. It's called Who Says So. It's on the Red Flame label. This is what the inner sleeve looks like. I'm not sure what else is on Red Flame. I've never seen any other releases on this label, I don't think. Later, Dif Juz were signed to 4AD, and they made some very polished music. This is a little bit more raw, but it's very dubby. It's kind of whimsical sometimes. Has some great drumming and bass playing on it. I really like all the songs on here. There's 8 tracks, 4 on each side. I would say this is good for fans of bands like Tortoise or also Hugo Largo, that type of thing. Just kind of odd, quirky 80s experimental pop music, but there's no vocals on this album. In fact, there's no vocals on most of the Dif Juz recordings. Also in the core collection, I have the full-length album from Dif Juz or Dif Juz called Extractions that came out in 1985 on the 4AD label. This was their only long player on 4AD. They did have a couple of EPs that are quite good. I have one of those. One of the noteworthy things about this album is that Liz Fraser from Cocteau Twins sings on one of the tracks. First track on side 2, which is called Love Insane. I would say it kind of continues in the vein from the mini LP that I showed previously, the Who Says So album. It's maybe a little bit more refined than that, which is a good thing. They've really kind of brought their sound into focus. The sound stage on this album is just amazing. It sounds great on vinyl. I don't think I've ever heard it on CD, but if you do like 80s instrumental kind of experimental type music, definitely pick up anything you can find by Dif Juz. Great band. I hold in my hand an amazing album from 1985. It's the Dukes of Stratosphear's first and only mini LP. It's called 25 O'Clock. And these were the members of XTC, Andy Partridge, Colin Moulding, and Dave Gregory, masquerading under their alter egos, which was a really oversaturated and zealously artistic psychedelic band that had just kind of beamed from the 1960s to 1985 and recorded these songs that are just drenched in all of the elements that you'd expect to find from the most acid psych 60s LP that you could imagine. So anyway, really kind of building up the strength of this album, and it is quite good. They went on to put out another record after this called Psionic Sunspot, which I stupidly didn't buy, and I don't know why. But anyway, I'm looking for that. That's one of my grails, the purple vinyl version of Psionic Sunspot, the follow-up to 25 O'Clock. So the songs on here: 25 O'Clock, Bike Ride to the Moon, My Love Explodes on side 1, on side 2, What in the World, Your Gold Dress, and The Mole from the Ministry. All just really super slices of 60s craziness. So run out and buy this one if you've never heard it or if you don't have it.